Daptone House of Soul recording studio. It's a record label that we started with the full-on intention to make the best soul records of the era. Gabe had a record label prior to Daptone called Desco Records, and I was a recording artist on the label, and what even at that point separated that label from other labels was that they had an in-house studio. That was the business model of how we were going to set up Daptone, was having this recording studio, being able to cut different stuff, having a house band, being able to cut different singers. So the studio component was really a huge part of what we wanted to do. And then as artists, myself, it's like way more interesting. We have an office right upstairs, which is where we do all the, distribution and sales from. So, just back and forth, keeping everything fresh all the time. Motown and Stax, they were all run like that. It's an analog studio, and if anyone wanted to cut anything digital in here, you would need to bring in a Pro Tools rig because we don't have it. We do have a 16-track machine and two 8-track machines, but that's the machine that we're really using all the time. These things all have characters of themselves. The tape machine has a character that we need to use, and a certain microphone has a character. The physical aspect of it feels right for us. It's compression that you're not going to get from a digital situation. It's just, you push digital, it's just this awful distortion. You push tape and it bellows out. It compresses and it moves in different ways. It's more organic sounding, maybe. We love old records, and those are the records that we're trying to make, and that's the gold standard for us. The Sharon Jones stuff. Big ones have been 100 Days. The last one, Give the People What They Want. I think the best-selling one so far has been I Learned the Hard Way. And also the most dynamic record, where that was, there's a lot of strings on that record. So you will hear a pretty lush, open sound produced in a not such a big room. There's one of the reverb units.
Yeah,
These little,
Orban.
The Orban is a big go for us. And we do have a plate in the basement. I was never sure if there was a Daptone sound, but there's something that the studio can bring to those records. We can record live in there, and actually all the rhythm stuff goes down live, and you can see there's the baffles and the go-go's, everything is there, and again, depending on what the song is, whether the drums are isolated in the isolation booth, or they're live, or there's no rugs on the floor, things are more open, things are brighter. I can speak for the horn section, and we've recorded everything from Amy Winehouse's record to Bruno Mars's, the Uptown Funk. All the horns are recorded here, and we know how to work that room, and we can brighten the rooms up and darken them. As you notice, it's not a huge space, so we really need to utilize the space sonically, because we're recording stuff on one mic, so knowing that the blend is exactly how it's going to be. The other thing that happens here, which may be different than most studios, is 75% of the sessions are mostly the same guys. It's always Gabe on bass, Homer Steinweiss on drums, Binky Griptite and Tom Brennick on guitar, or Joe Crispiano on guitar. And Homer's doing tons of stuff now as well, including all the Mark Ronson stuff. He was working on that album Versions, which was a very horn-heavy record, and he called in the Dap King horns because he had been sampling our records from the very first record, and we were on his radar, and he was real easy to talk to, and obviously I was always pitching him to use the band and the studio for anything, and then he came in and started cutting with the band. All the tracks that he cut for the Amy record, there were two producers, all his tracks, which were the big tracks, were all cut here. We're waiting on this new Charles Bradley record around the corner. We recorded James Hunter's new record, some more rock stuff. They're trying to get back in with Sharon to do another record. Vinyl is huge right now, and it is an aesthetic that we prefer, and we're all collecting records. And 7 inches too. We're countdown to 107 inches right now. That'll be in the next few months. So we did a lot of 45s, but I think more important about the vinyl aesthetic is just that we're making records. And when we're sequencing a record, we're thinking about an A-side and a B-side. And even more importantly is you can only maximize 30 to 35, 40 minutes on the outside for a record. So that's 17 minutes a side, or optimally 15 minutes a side. And no one's ever said, man, these records are short, even though they're mostly about 35 minutes. And I think that one of the downfalls of the major labels through the 90s into the 2000s were these CDs, or these records that had to be an hour and a half. You'd put a CD on and you would never get to the end of the CD. You know, you listen to an album, you have 15 minutes of concentrated listening, and flip the side, you have this whole other experience. And that is what we were real into. If you tour it around, you can see there's a new Sharon Christmas record coming out, and there's just stacks of them, thousands of them in the hallway out there. And that's exciting, you know. Thousands of CDs, it's just not as, it seems a little more disposable. And those will live, you know, those will live for a long time. I mean, we all have old jazz records in our collection that are easily 50, 55 years ago. I mean, it's crazy.